You notice her because she spills her coffee. Not dramatically. Just a small tip of the cup, a quiet exhale. A paper napkin pressed to the table with the practiced calm of someone who has learned not to react to small things. You are sitting 2 tables away with a sandwich you haven't touched and a lease agreement you've been pretending to read for 40 minutes. You are 3 weeks new to this city. You don't know anyone. You notice everything. She is sitting alone. Dark coat, dark hair pulled back, a single earring visible on one side. She reads something on a folded piece of paper, folds it again, puts it in her coat pocket. Orders another coffee without looking at the menu. The waiter brings it before she finishes asking. You go back to your lease agreement. You come back the next day because the coffee is good and because you have nowhere else to be. She is there again. Same table, different coat, same single earring. This time she has no paper. She just sits and watches the street through the window with the particular stillness of someone who is very used to being watched back. You don't speak to her. You come back the day after that. On the 4th day, she looks at you directly and says, "You're the one who moved into the Delgado building." It isn't a question. You say yes. She nods once, as if confirming something she already knew, and goes back to watching the street. Her name is Soledad. You learn this the following week when the cafe owner mentions it in passing. Not to you, to someone else, in a tone that carries weight you don't understand yet. The kind of tone people use when they're being careful. You ask the cafe owner about her that afternoon. His expression does something complicated. He says she comes in every Tuesday and Thursday. He says she tips well. He says she has been coming here for 4 years. He says all of this to the counter, not to your face. And then he goes to the back and doesn't come out again for a while. You file it away as a personality thing. Some people just occupy space differently. The first real conversation happens on a Thursday. You are struggling with a city map, an actual paper map, which you bought because your phone died and because you are the kind of person who buys paper maps, which is apparently a detail she finds worth noting. She looks at it for a moment. She says, "You're holding it upside down." You turn it. She was right. She almost smiles. You walk 6 blocks together because you are going in the same direction. She doesn't fill silences. Neither do you usually, but around her it's different. The quiet feels inhabited rather than empty. She asks what brought you to the city. You tell her the honest answer, which is that you needed to become someone slightly different, and this seemed like a good place to try. She is quiet for a moment. Then she says, "That's the most honest thing anyone has said to me in a long time." You reach the corner where your directions diverge. She goes left. You watch her go, and she doesn't look back, and somehow that feels like something too. 3 weeks pass. You see her Tuesdays and Thursdays. You learn things in the way you learn things about people who talk carefully. She takes her coffee with nothing added. She reads physical documents, never a phone. She has a way of listening that makes you feel like everything you say is being kept somewhere safe. She laughs rarely, and when she does it arrives like something she wasn't planning to let out. You learn that she works in finance. You picture spreadsheets. You picture a glass office. You picture nothing close to the truth. You ask her to dinner on a Tuesday. You ask it the way you do things when you've been talking yourself out of it for 2 weeks, quickly, before the internal argument can finish. She looks at you for a moment, not calculating exactly, more like she's checking something against something else. She says yes. Dinner is easy in the way that things are easy when they were always going to be easy. She asks you questions nobody asks. Not what do you do, but why did you stop doing the other thing? Not where are you from, but what are you carrying from there? You answer all of them. You ask her the same things back. She answers most of them. The ones she doesn't answer, she lets sit without apology, and you find you don't mind. Some people's silences are locked doors. Hers feel more like rooms she hasn't decided to show you yet. Walking home, she takes your hand. Matter of fact. Like it was already decided somewhere before tonight. You are 4 months in when you first notice it. You are with her at a gallery opening she mentioned casually, the way people mention things they assume you'll come to. It is a large room full of people who know each other, and every single person in that room knows her. Not in the way people know someone at a party. In the way people know a city knows a landmark. It is simply there. It has always been there. It organizes the space around it. Men in expensive suits find reasons to cross the room. Women who look like they defer to nobody defer. She moves through it the way she moves through everything. Quietly, completely, the eye of something. You mention this afterward. You say, everyone in that room knew you. She says, most people in this city know me. You wait for more. She doesn't offer it. You file it away again. The second time, you notice it is harder to file away. You are in a restaurant. A man approaches the table, well-dressed, unhurried. The kind of man who has never once been told to wait. He speaks to her in low, rapid sentences. She listens without expression. She says 3 words back. He nods, once, deeply, and leaves without acknowledging your presence. You ask who that was. She says, someone who needed an answer. You ask what the answer was. She looks at you with something soft and something else behind the soft, and she says, not tonight. Not tonight. Not never. The night, she tells you, is a Sunday. You are in her apartment, which is large and sparse, and has the particular order of someone who has decided exactly what they need and removed everything else. She makes tea. She sits across from you. And she tells you. She doesn't dress it up. She uses plain language, the same voice she uses to order coffee, to ask you questions, to say your name in the dark. She tells you what her family built, what she inherited, what she runs, what it means that she runs it. She speaks for 11 minutes. You count later, approximately, because your brain needs something to do while the city rearranges itself around you. When she finishes, she says, I understand if you need to leave. She says she will have someone drive you home. She says she will not make it difficult. You sit there. Here is what you know. You know how she holds a coffee cup. You know she reads everything twice. You know she once spent 20 minutes helping an elderly man find his dog on your street and then walked away before he could thank her. You know she cries at nothing and feels everything and has spent years building a face that shows neither. You know the exact quality of the silence she makes when something has moved her. You know all the small true things. You don't leave. You stay and you drink your tea, and eventually she moves to sit beside you, and you don't speak for a long time, and outside the city continues being the city, enormous and indifferent, the same city it was before you knew, which is the strangest part. The city didn't change. You just finally learned to read it right side up. It is not without cost. You understand that slowly, the way you understand most true things. The weight of knowing. The specific discipline of loving someone who carries something that heavy and choosing to stand close anyway. There are nights she comes home with the careful stillness of someone who has been somewhere you will never ask about. There are mornings she is quieter than usual, and you make coffee and you put in front of her, and that is the whole conversation, and it is enough. You have become someone who can make silence into something useful. One afternoon she asks you, out of nowhere, whether you ever regret coming to this city. You think about it. Actually think about it. You say no. She is quiet for a moment. She says, you came here to become someone slightly different. You say yes. She says, did it work? You look at her. You look at the apartment, the tea, the map you still have somewhere folded wrong, the city out the window that you can finally read. You say, I think I became someone entirely different. She considers this. Something moves across her face that she doesn't bother to control. She takes your hand the same way she did that first night. Matter of fact, like it was already decided. You still go to the café on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You still sit at your table. She still sits at hers, sometimes, when things are ordinary enough to allow it. The café owner no longer goes to the back when you mention her name. He just nods, the way people nod at things that have become simply true. You were the only person in the city who didn't know who she was. You're still not sure you know entirely, but you know her. And in this city, in this life, in this particular and unlikely arrangement of things, it turns out that's the only map you needed.